Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. I am so excited because I have a very special friend and colleague on today. Sina is a fellow coach, and we went through our training program together. I am thrilled to have her on today, and I will just pass it to you, Sina, to introduce yourself.
Hi, Steph. I am so happy to be here and to be invited to your podcast. We started in September 2022, and now it's October 2024, and so much has happened in between. That was a journey, and I'm so happy to be here. My name is Sina. I am a career coach for artistic freelancers, and my coaching program is called Happy Career. I am a highly sensitive person as well, and I have made my journey through my first career of being a stage designer for 18 years. The connection between being highly sensitive and working in theaters has been really challenging and gave me many insights, so much wisdom about myself, about life, about the whole world, that now all of that goes into my coaching. I call it my second big love and my second marriage coaching.
I love that. This is a very natural transition for you because you have almost 2 decades of experience in set design, working in theaters, working in the arts, which is so important and I think undervalued often. And now you can help other people who want to have better lives and better careers to get through a lot of that nonsense. And you know exactly what that feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. As I've experienced it, business stuff and entrepreneur stuff is the missing piece for every artist. Artists always are in their artist brains and never in their CEO brains. So that is the missing link. I want this industry to heal because we are all in our artist brains. We love the work we do, we love the world, and we love to contribute to the world. But the thing that we are missing is to take care of our businesses and to take care of ourselves. And for that, we need to know how to make business and how to grow organically. And this is what I contribute now to this industry. All of my experience the past 2 decades led to where I am right now.
Yes. I'm so excited for you because I am sick of the starving artist trope. I think that artists deserve to be valued. They create a lot of value in the world. And so I love that you're teaching artists to think of themselves as business people. That's hugely important.
When people start to work with me, the first step is to establish their CEO self. For all of these people, it's the biggest step, and all of them are like, no, I'm not a CEO. That's the biggest stretch for them, which is like most important thing if you have your own business, no matter which industry, you have to establish yourself as the CEO.
Yes, well said. I can feel your passion coming through. When did you discover that you were a highly sensitive person?
I had a diagnosis in 2016 of emotional unstable personality disorder. That is how it's called in Germany. During the first 30 years of my life, I have been struggling from that a lot. So there are hard symptoms, and it has lots of consequences for your life. And I conquered them. I was in therapy and I was working on myself. And like there was also a big part when I started coaching to really experience my brain and to uncover the unconscious programming in my brain. And that led to shifting out of emotional unstable personality disorder. And then beginning of last year, something like that, I came across this framing of highly sensitive persons. I was Googling it and did some research and was like, oh, this is actually me right now. This is so great. I shifted from being this disorder person to highly sensitive.
Oh, I have so many questions. And this is so cool because a lot of my clients are in America. So we only have the American perspective, but I love hearing the German perspective on this. Is your understanding that emotional instability, personality disorder, is that high sensitivity or is that something completely separate?
That's something completely separate. I think that's like how my brain shifted from this really hard diagnose to living in this neurodiverse but super livable and super manageable and also beneficial state.
I love that you were able to get help and that you worked through it and then you discovered for yourself that you're highly sensitive.
Yes, I am so happy to. And I'm also like super proud that I did it because it's a hard journey and you really have to stand up for yourself and have your own back.
Yes, I talk about this all the time in the podcast, I also went through counseling for a few years because of depression and anxiety. It is a lot of work and effort, but on the other side, it feels so much freer. It's worth it.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that you said high sensitivity feels like a gift in a lot of ways. Tell me about what your high sensitivity looks like for you.
I am super fast in doing things because how my brain process things is quick. I love my brain for coming up with brilliant ideas, no matter in which area, so quickly. It's almost like I can step back from doing the work and let my brain do it unconsciously. It's like a speed train. I love it. And at the same time, because I'm processing so fast and so much, it's like I'm soaking in everything around me quick and also lots of it. So I know that I need lots of time for myself to rest and to process and to rejuvenate. I like knowing that and owning that and then giving myself that time because it feels like I have agency over my life. I also like that when I'm in groups, I can read the room super well and I always know like the different people, where are they right now, what is the state they're in, what do they need. Just by being in the group, I know that I am the regulating moment inside of this group, and this is really fun for me. When I'm not taking care of myself and when I'm overstretching myself, then it is draining. But knowing that and then taking care of myself and giving myself what I need is like a compass and a guidance system for my life. And I love to have that. It guides what to do, when to do, how much to do. And I just love to have that guiding system.
I completely resonate with everything you said, especially about the processing and being in groups and being able to assess where everyone is and what they need. And I love that you use the word regulate, that you can smooth things out and make the interactions so much better for everyone. That is definitely a highly sensitive superpower.
Yes, before I know that I was highly sensitive, I always had thoughts about myself that were in the realm of I have to perform. I am not saying enough. What I'm saying is not good enough or is not valuable. I call it bullshit and not enoughness, scarcity. And that shifted into me being me is regulating the group. Then I can decide, okay, now I'm in, and then I'm popping out again because it's getting too much for me.
I just want to repeat back what you said, that just being yourself changes the energy in the group, and that you can dip in when it feels good and you can dip out when it gets to be too much and when you're feeling overstimulated. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to pretend to be something or draw on some other resources in order to change the dynamic. You just do that by being yourself.
Yeah, it also led to setting up really clear boundaries about in which environments do I feel good and do I feel safe, and in which environments do I not feel safe. And then intentionally decide not to be in these environments. That's how my nervous system reacts being in their environment. And when I found out about this highly sensitivity stuff and how my brain works, it was so easy for me to give myself permission. Hey, you don't have to go there. It's okay to decide not to be with them. Or every fifth time when they meet, I'll join them. And that changed my life so much because I decided to own the decisions, how I'm using my time and with whom do I want to spend my time. And that changed my life tremendously because I do have way more energy. I'm way more rested and I am way more connected to myself in a very positive way. I think that's one of the building blocks that really changed my life for the better.
I just love being in your energy, Sina. You're doing it right now. You're making me feel great just by being yourself. Do you think that a lot of artists are highly sensitive, or do you think that it's probably about 20% of artists are highly sensitive, just like 20% of the regular population is highly sensitive?
I think 80% of all the artists are highly sensitive. And that's so fun for me because I grew up in a family of artists. I was studying arts. I was working in the arts industry. So for me, it's so normal to be surrounded by highly sensitive people. But I think only a few of them know that they are highly sensitive and that they have a neurodiverse brain. I think it would be so beneficial for them to know about their neurodiversity, because I think their life and also their career would shift tremendously to the better if they would take that into account.
I completely get what you're saying. And that was my suspicion too. I do have a lot of clients who are artistic and creative. So I'm glad to hear from an artist that yes, a lot of artists are highly sensitive.
I wouldn't call it a prerequisite, but it somehow is, because you really have to have these sensors about the world and how it works. I think if you're drawn to being an artist, you most probably are highly sensitive.
You're a business coach for artists. Does it feel like a natural transition? How did it happen?
Yeah, that was really exciting, because when I ended my career as a stage designer, I felt like, okay, we've split up, we got divorced, and I needed some time off from the arts industry and the theater industry. So I didn't want to talk about theater arts at all in my marketing. I think I had to process, of course, this first marriage and the divorce. And so when I decided 6 months ago to talk to highly passionate people, I think I was in disguise of talking to artists, but I didn't want to use the word artist, and so I used the word highly passionate, because I still didn't want to talk to artists and about arts stuff. So I was talking about highly passionate stuff. So I was a career coach for artists in disguise at that time. I think it took some time for me, on the one hand, to process the divorce, but on the other hand, I also had to build up confidence in saying, hey, you are an artist, I know where you're at, and I help you to get to where you want to be. I had to take some time to build up that confidence by coaching artists. And by the way, I have never coached anyone who is not an artist. So all of my clients from the very beginning, all of them are artists, but it took some time to process and to build up confidence. Then it happened overnight. The tipping moment has been that I was dreaming about Keanu Reeves and he fell in love with me. And I think that was the last bit of confidence I needed. And I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning and I was like, I'm a career coach for artists and my program will be called Happy Career.
If down the line Keanu Reeves ever ends up working with you because he is an artist, then you know that you can add premonition to your list of superpowers. I love that you say it was your first marriage and your divorce and you were processing the divorce, because I went through the same thing coming out of coach training, because the most successful area of my life was my relationships. And at the time, I thought, I just don't want to coach on relationships. I'm over it. Like, I've done all this work on them. I love my relationships, but I don't want to coach other people on relationships. And now I have relationships interwoven into every single package that I do with my clients. And it just feels so much better. But it felt good to take a break from that and to say, no, I'm doing something else. And then it just felt very natural.
I think it's also because we're taking a break from the things that we've done so far, means that at the same time, we take time to build up our new self-concept, our new identity that we are starting. And I think when we are ready with that new self-concept, then we can take on the old stuff and combine these two things.
I completely agree. The word that came to mind when you said that was integration. Sometimes you need to step away from the thing you just put all your energy into, let it integrate so you can step into your new version, just like you said. And then it just becomes a natural part of you. It doesn't feel like something you have to force or that you have to work at.
Absolutely. This is a concept that I'm really marinating in, is letting things come up very naturally and trusting that I don't have to force them to grow, but like nurturing and watering them unconsciously and letting them grow until they're ready to show up by themselves naturally. That's one of my baselines for my business, instead of forcing myself or forcing things to come up, because that's what I've been doing in my first career. And when I have not lived in alignment with my high sensitivity, I've been rushing so much and I've been forcing myself so much. Being in alignment with being highly sensitive means for me to really allow things to grow and give them time to grow until they are naturally ready to show themselves.
I am so glad you said that, Sina, because I have definitely had that experience. My last few podcast episodes have all been about that because that's been my journey over the last couple of months too, to let things happen in their own time and to not rush them and to trust that the process is happening in the right pace.
Yeah, I think this has been one of the main thoughts. I trust the process. I'm exactly where I need to be.
Exactly. Yes. Which is sometimes hard because you're like, I feel like I should be further along or I want to be further along, especially if you have such a clear vision of the future and you know exactly what you want. Sometimes the desire can overpower your sense of timing and letting things happen naturally and being okay with the process. I love that you reflected that back, that when you're in alignment, things just happen organically and they grow at the pace they're supposed to, and then they appear when they're ready to. It's like they bloom.
Yeah, this is so fascinating. There has always been this conflict between, and I'm just calling it male and female parts within myself. You can also call it Western and Eastern or yin and yang, whatever. But there was this conflict inside of me between these two parts because either living the male part, setting hard goals and working on achieving them, or the female part is like, I'm working on my intuition and I'm letting things grow. And I figured out that actually I can combine them and they work so well together. This is what I've done in stage designing all of the time, but I haven't seen it. I'm transferring the male part, setting a hard goal and setting a hard deadline, but how to achieve that and how to work on that, giving that to the female part of me and letting my intuition guide me and letting it be a wild journey instead of a male, direct, and straight journey. This was such an insight for myself. I can set myself like really high goals. I can do that. That's no problem. And I can achieve them however I want to and let my intuition guide me while being on that journey.
I just got spiritual chills, when you hear something and it feels so true and you resonate with it and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I was meant to hear this. We're in parallel because I came to the same conclusion, tapping back into my intuition and really leaning into things. But what's so interesting to me is that we almost have an opposite approach because I'm leaning on my female side and my intuition side to guide me towards my goals or my next destination. And then I'm putting my masculine side to work to execute it and do it in a very methodical, analytical way. The balance for me is letting the destination be kind of wild and then tapping into my logical side to make it happen step by step.
This is so fun. Has your female part already told you the goal you want to work on? Do you already know that?
My intuitive part is very focused on one step at a time because I've been so future oriented for so long. It's about slowing down and just trusting that each step will come to me when it's ready to come to me. And then letting the masculine part of me take the steps that it needs to take because I'm so system oriented and so framework oriented and I'm really good at following rules. If I get too masculine, I'll start heading off in some random direction and then it doesn't take me anywhere. I just go around in circles. It's like I'm chasing my own tail because there was no intuition and no feminine part to it. Bringing in more of the intuition and the femininity helps me determine each step is going to lead me to the next step. And then I can bring in my drive and my ambition to make those happen and to be determined and focused along the way.
So cool. It's like your female part is guiding you for the big direction, the big goal. That's so fun.
Yes. So what does this look like for you? What does it mean?
So for me, this means that I give myself permission to have big goals, which means 200K in 3 years or 4 years. So I will let my intuition guide me on the journey on how, because I always know intuitively what the next step of mine is. And there are phases where I don't know what the next step is, but this means that I just have to rest a little bit and to come back to sufficiency and to nurture myself. And then my intuition tells me, this is your next step, and this is what you have to be working on. The small steps, bridging the gap, is going to be guided by my intuition, but the goal and the deadline is set by my masculine part.
And since you explained that a little bit more, I feel like we have some overlap with our intuition, that it's just guiding us on each step that feels natural rather than trying to force something that feels like it's what we should do, or it's what other people might expect, or what other people have done, and listening to our own inner wisdom. This is why it's so fun when two coaches get together, because then we can just jive with each other and we're like, yes, this insight, that insight, yes.
It's amazing.
Balancing your masculine, goal-driven side and your feminine, intuitive side, is that something that you incorporate in your work with your clients, or do you take a different approach depending on who it is?
100%. One of my concepts is to set access to the brilliant brains of my clients. And we do that by setting this high goal of happy career. And there's always a number behind that. So we set a high goal, and we set the goal of setting access to their brilliant brains so that we ramp up their artistic output like through the roof. And setting access to your brilliant brain works through letting your intuition and your subconscious mind doing the work for you. And we do that by busying ourselves with other stuff than business that is fun for us. So and this is an approach I have for my business too. The rule I'm always coming back to is I am focusing on 90% on having fun with other stuff than my business, and focusing 10% on my business. Because the more I'm nurturing having fun and having joy and just like enjoying my life, the better I am at my business, the more insights I'm having, the faster I am, because my intuition and my subconscious minds have so much space and time to work on what I want to achieve while I'm busying myself with having fun. And this is how I'm teaching my clients to set access to their brilliant brain. It's just by having fun with doing other stuff than work.
Having fun outside of your business or outside of your freelance or your contract work, that is a crucial part to being creative and being your own CEO.
And of course, you have to trust, because if you have fun with other stuff and you don't trust, then you're in scarcity and then nothing is happening. You really have to trust. The more I'm focusing on other stuff and the more fun I'm having, the better I am, the more brilliant my ideas will be.
What have been some of the results of this practice?
I really see myself as being really talented because I'm coming from this family of artists. So it's always been very easy to come up with really good ideas. But I felt that I really got better, that I really ramped up my artistic output when I started to have fun. And of course, because of that, I had way more fun in my career. I am still amazed of these stage design because I really love them and I think they are brilliant. I think that all of my stage designs, I really like them. But there was a point when I was like, this is brilliant. This is like really, really good. I just got some pictures of one of my clients, and she's a performer, and she has been already a shooting star, but now she's more successful. What happened for her is that she can celebrate herself way more. She's taking time for herself way more, and that ramps up her output, of course, way more. And because of that, she is now at a luxury spa hotel, I think in London, and she sent me pictures, and she's going to celebrate there for the whole month. And she sent me pictures of this luxury pool, like a rooftop looking all over London. We were establishing her self-concept, and her thought was, I am a global player. And she sent me the photos of this rooftop spa thing with the infinity pool looking over London. And I was like, I think I just got some pictures from a global player artist. This is how it looks if you live a life of being a global player artist. And that is such a big difference to where we started 6 months ago. It changes everything. In the beginning of October, she said, I'm going to celebrate the whole October because this is what my intuition, this is me. And I give myself permission to trust my intuition because of the work we were doing together.
Wisdom from artists and creatives about how to play in order to contribute to your art and your business.
I'm so happy that I figured that out in my first career, because like the only thing I had to be doing is allowing myself to transfer that into coaching and into a concept that I can teach to artists, because I have mastered that so well. When I was coming up with a stage design, I always knew from the beginning, I'm going to read the text, I'm going to distract myself with other things. And then I knew it will take 3 months, 5 months, 1.5 years until this brilliant idea will kick in without me doing anything for it. It took 18 years for me to come up with that strategy, but I'm so happy because this is a concept that I can teach to my clients now, and it really works perfectly.
I love that. When you would get the text messages, did you have a deadline for how quickly you had to come up with the stage designs? Like, or did you get them so far in advance you had all this time to think about it and process it?
I had a deadline, and I think it's really important to have that deadline because it's like an order. You have to come up with an idea until that time. That's also like the thing I'm talking about. You have to have a goal, but you also have to have a deadline, because otherwise it's like, yeah, I could do it, but it's not that important. Leaning on your intuition and falling into the trap of leaning onto your primitive brain, which is always telling you, don't work, lay on the couch, eat pizza. That's very subtle. In the beginning, it's very hard to distinguish between these two. So I think a deadline is one of the two main things that you have to set in order for your subconscious mind and for your intuition to go to work.
And what's the other thing?
Setting the goal, what it is that needs to be accomplished. Set design, a painting, a financial number, whatever. The goal and the deadline.
Love it. What is one more thing you feel called to share before we wrap up?
How I see myself now and what I'm realizing about myself now is that no matter in which industry I am in, it's always about smashing the glass ceilings that I am putting in myself and to grow, because I'm so curious about what we are capable of when we are using our brains. And so for me, it's always about learning to not keep myself small and to play big, or growing into the biggest version of myself. And that has so much to do with giving myself permission to want what I want and to not diminish what I want by telling myself it's not that important, or oh, this is too much, or this is too hard. Be grateful for what you have, and you don't have to grow. It's too exhausting, it's too draining. I think the moments where I have the biggest shifts is always to allow myself to give myself permission to really want what I want, and holding that feeling of that's really scary in the beginning. What I want is big, and that feels scary because growth always feels scary. And the thing that I want to share is to be okay with this discomfort, and maybe also to get support from someone that guides you along the journey, because doing that alone is super exhausting. But I think at the end of the tunnel, you come out as a person that is not only bigger, but that owns their own lives, and that feels proud, and that is connected with themselves. And I think that is the purpose of life.
Ooh, well said. I love it. If someone would like to get in touch with you about career coaching as an artist, if they want a happy career, how can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, and my name is Sina Gentsch Coaching, and Gentsch is written Gentsch. And then they can book a discovery call with me, and I'm happy to talk to them.
Perfect. And I will have that information in the show notes too. So you can just go right there and click on the link and connect with Sina, because she is obviously fabulous, great energy. And you're right, you're doing it yourself. You're being the model of growing your business and being the CEO of your business, so you can help other artists and other creatives do the same thing. This was a lovely conversation. I'm so excited you came on. Thank you.
Thank you, Steph, for inviting me. That was so much fun. Thank you.